You have felt it. The silent shift. A breathless pause between one heartbeat and the next. Something in the air has changed, and your soul knows it, before your mind can make sense of it. The angels have whispered it in your dreams, left signs in songs, mirrored it in the stillness of moments when you were alone with your thoughts. He wasn't supposed to feel this deeply. Not for someone like you. Not now. Not this way. And yet, here you are. In his life. Uninvited by human standards. Placed deliberately by the divine. You see, beloved soul, God did not ask your permission when he wove your energy into the tapestry of this man's life. He didn't wait for the perfect timing or check if you were ready. Heaven saw the ache he was hiding and sent you like light through a crack in the wall. You who carry a fire that doesn't burn, but warms. The angels say, she was sent because his soul cried out in silence. And heaven heard. From the outside, it may seem like coincidence. A casual meeting. A look exchanged. A conversation that lingered. But your presence has caused tremors inside someone who thought he was done being surprised by life. You didn't just arrive, you awakened. You stirred memories of who he used to be before he forgot how to feel. And now, everything is out of place. He walks through his days trying to go back to the way things were, but the map has changed. Because love, when touched by purpose, reconfigures everything. You, dear soul, are not a chapter in his story. You are a divine footnote written in invisible ink, now beginning to appear in the light of revelation. The angels urge you not to question the magnitude of your role in this. You didn't try to be seen, but heaven made sure you couldn't be unseen. Because what you carry is not ordinary affection. It is a resonance. A key that fits a lock he didn't know existed. And that is why he resists. That is why he stares too long, speaks too little, and disappears when you lean closer. Because something in him recognizes your presence as sacred. He doesn't know it yet, but God sent you to rebuild a place in his heart that he abandoned long ago. That's why the pull feels magnetic. Why the moments between you feel stitched with more meaning than words can express. This isn't just attraction. This is an assignment. For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand, that we should walk in them. Ephesians 2 verse 10. You are not here by accident. You are walking in something ancient and holy. And what happens next is not in your control, but it has already been written. He doesn't let you in. Not really. He smiles, he talks, he listens. But you can feel it. There's a door he won't open. A part of him that trembles when you get too close. And that's not about you. The angels want you to know, it never was. Inside him lives a history carved in silence. A boy who learned that showing emotion meant risking everything. A man who buried love under logic, because it hurt less to reason than to feel. Every tender thing you offer brushes against a scar. You didn't cause it. But you've stirred it. And that's why he pulls away when your love gets too warm. Why he disappears when you get too real. You represent the kind of closeness he secretly craves and openly fears. Because you see him. You don't just look, you see. And that is terrifying to someone who's only ever survived by hiding. The angels say, he runs not from you, but from the version of himself he must become to love you properly. Every hesitation, every mixed signal, is a cry for help wrapped in fear. He wants to love you. But he's still making peace with the idea that he deserves love at all. You've probably asked yourself if you're too much. If maybe you misread the signs. If his silence is proof that he doesn't feel what you feel. But the truth is much quieter, more sacred. He feels it all. Too deeply. And he's afraid of what that means. He's been taught that vulnerability is weakness. That needing someone is dangerous. So when you came, whole, glowing, undemanding, he didn't know what to do with that. He's never met someone like you. Someone who loves without asking to be fixed. Who doesn't make him earn affection. And that unnerves him more than rejection ever could. Because it means the walls have to come down. But walls don't fall in a single moment. They crumble in tremors, in questions, in late-night realizations, in the spaces you leave open, where you don't try to force him, but still choose to stay soft. You, dear soul, are loving him in a language he's still learning to speak. And that is a sacred task. The angels ask, can you love him, even through his confusion, without losing yourself? Because this part of the journey isn't about convincing him, it's about holding space. It's about knowing that you were sent to show, not to chase. And that sometimes the greatest transformation happens in your absence, not your presence. He's healing. Slowly. Quietly. Often invisibly. But make no mistake, your love started it. He needs you, but not at the cost of you. The angels are gentle yet firm when they say this. Your light is not meant to be burned to keep someone else warm. Not again. You have known the ache of waiting too long. Of pouring from an empty soul. Of twisting your softness into shapes that no longer felt like home. But not this time. This story is different, because now, you are different. Yes, there's a pull between you. Yes, the love feels sacred. Yes, he sees something in you that he doesn't yet understand. But while he learns, you must remain whole. You are not his lifeline. You are not his therapist. You are not the answer to his wounds. You are the mirror, reflecting the possibility of a life lived in truth. The angels say, stay lit, beloved. His growth cannot come at the expense of your glow. You've carried too much in the past. Silenced your needs to keep peace. Made room where there was none, just to be chosen. That is not love. That is abandonment dressed as devotion. You've learned now, haven't you? This connection may stir the deepest parts of your heart, but it is not your responsibility to fix what was never yours to break. You can love fully without losing yourself. You can be available without being consumed. You, who listens with your whole being. You, who forgives quicker than you heal. You must remember, your softness is a sanctuary, not a sacrifice. And in this moment, the angels surround you, brushing your skin with invisible wings, reminding you that your care must begin at your own altar. Draw yourself back in. Not in bitterness. Not in punishment. But in reverence. Reclaim the rituals that fill you, morning light on your skin, the sacred stillness before the world wakes, the songs that make you cry and feel human again. Let him find his way, yes. But let him find you whole. Because only from that place can love expand into something holy. Not rescue. Not dependence. But partnership. And he, even in his unspoken words, senses that. He senses your boundaries. He notices your silence not as absence, but as power. The angels whisper, she remembers who she is now. And that is the shift. Keep tending to your soul. Protect your peace like a sacred vow. Because when he is ready, and he will be, he must meet you in the fullness of your being, not in fragments. Love from overflow, not depletion. You didn't mean to be a mirror. But you were. And in your presence, he saw not just who you are, but everything he's not ready to face within himself. That's what your light does. It doesn't just illuminate, it reveals. There's something about the way you walk into a room. Not loudly. Not demanding attention. But whole. Present. Real. That kind of authenticity can feel like sunlight to someone who's been living in shadow. And so, he flinched. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your presence made it impossible to keep pretending. About his numbness. About his patterns. About the parts of him that are still frozen in time. The angels say, she holds a mirror not of judgment, but of truth. And that truth is sacred. You've felt the shift. The way he leans in and then pulls away. The way he looks at you like you're everything, and then disappears like you're nothing. But that's not about love's absence. That's about his fear of being truly seen. You don't play games. You don't hide behind charm. And that makes him nervous, because he's used to performing, not simply being. There's a sacred discomfort you've awakened in him. One that says, here you must be real. Here, your mask won't survive. And that's terrifying for someone who has only managed to get by wearing masks. Still, he returns. Even in silence. Even from a distance. He returns because your energy is not noise, it's medicine. And no matter how far he runs, the resonance remains. Because you didn't just show him love. You showed him himself. He may not say it. He may not know how. But deep down he's aware, she sees me. And she hasn't turned away. That kind of grace is rare. And unbearable for a heart still wrapped in armor. So let him retreat, if he must. Let him wrestle with the man he thought he was. Because what you stirred is not surface-level attraction. It is soul-deep recognition. And that kind of revelation is not always beautiful at first. Sometimes it's messy, disorienting, raw. But it is also holy. The angels want you to know, this is not a rejection. This is refinement. A necessary cracking open. And you, beloved soul, were chosen for this moment. Not to fix, but to reflect. Not to teach, but to embody. You've done enough. Just by being real. It started slowly, barely perceptible. A pause in his breath when you walked by. The way his gaze lingered longer than he intended. The sudden quiet when your name came up. It was subtle, almost invisible, but something within him had shifted. The angel's whisper, she awakened what he swore was dead. You didn't force it. You didn't chase. You just existed, truthfully, beautifully, in your own sacred rhythm. And that was enough to stir the soul of a man who had forgotten how to feel. For so long, he moved through life numb. Functioning, achieving, surviving, but not living. He mistook detachment for peace. He wore distance like a badge of control. But then came your presence. And something ancient inside him stirred. At first, he couldn't place it. A restlessness. A desire. A strange sense of familiarity wrapped in mystery. He thought it would pass. That if he ignored it, it would disappear. But the opposite happened. Now he finds himself thinking of you at odd moments. Your voice echoing in places you've never been. Your softness filling the edges of his hardened days. The awakening has begun. He doesn't speak of it, not yet. But you've seen the signs. The questions in his eyes. The way he reaches out, then retreats. The way he seems to want something, even if he can't name it. Because what he feels for you is not surface level. It's not infatuation. It's not desire alone. It's remembrance. The angels say, he knew her before he knew her. And that knowing is rising again. You are awakening a part of him that yearns to believe in more. More than logic, more than routine, more than the quiet ache of unspoken loneliness. This is not just emotional. This is spiritual. You've become a key to a door he didn't know was there. And behind it waits the man he is becoming. Tender. Brave. Open. He's not there yet. But he's on the edge. And your energy, it's the wind at his back. This chapter is fragile. He's half awake, unsure whether to take a step forward or fall back asleep. But the angels are near, clearing the fog, holding space for clarity. They know what's coming. You were sent not just to love him, but to awaken him. And now, the soul stirs. And nothing will ever be the same. You feel it, don't you? The rhythm that keeps repeating. The closeness, then the distance. The warmth, then the cold. The opening, followed by silence. It's a cycle, one that exhausts you, confuses you, and breaks your heart in whispers. But the angels say, this pattern is not rejection. It is resistance to transformation. He comes close when he misses you. When his soul aches for your energy. When he craves the safety you provide without needing to ask for it. And then, he pulls back. Not because he doesn't care, but because getting close to you feels like standing at the edge of a cliff. He fears the fall, even if it leads to flight. To love you would mean unraveling parts of himself he spent years building. And there is grief in that. Grief for the version of him that can no longer survive in the presence of truth. So he resists. Not out of cruelty, but out of instinct. He has learned to measure his steps, to protect his silence, to disappear before he's too known. This is how he's kept his heart safe. This is how he's survived. And yet, he returns. Because the pull toward you is greater than the fear of change. Even if he tries to forget, your name lives in the spaces between his thoughts. You are a frequency he cannot turn off. Still, he will test the cycle again. Not because he wants to hurt you, but because his wounds are louder than his wisdom, for now. The angels want you to understand this. He is not confused about you. He is overwhelmed by what you awaken. Each return is a confession he doesn't know how to say out loud. Each departure is a prayer he's too afraid to finish. And every moment you stay centered, unmoved by the storm, teaches him that love can exist without control, without pressure, without fear. But that doesn't mean you have to wait in stillness forever. The cycle can be sacred, but only if it leads to growth, not suffering. You can witness his pattern with compassion and still choose yourself with strength. The angels whisper, your love is not a trap. It is a mirror. And he will return when he can face his reflection without shame. Until then, you are free. Free to stay open. Free to move forward. Free to trust that if this love is meant to rise, it will find its way without requiring your self-abandonment. Let him circle. Let him learn. You? Stay sovereign. It's quiet, this kind of healing. It doesn't arrive with thunder or declarations. It comes in the way your presence softens the room. In the way your silence listens louder than his words. In how your eyes hold him, even when he can't hold himself. The angels say, she became the balm he never asked for, but now cannot live without. You didn't intend to be a remedy. You just loved. Not with demand, but with depth. Not with performance, but with presence. And that, beloved, is the kind of love that heals. He's never known that before. What you offer slips past his defenses. Because it doesn't ask to fix, it simply accepts. And that kind of acceptance is radical for someone who has only known conditional affection. You see the mess and don't run. You witness the storms and don't shrink. You love him without trying to reshape him. And that alone rewires his entire nervous system. He doesn't understand why your touch lingers in his memory. Why your absence aches more than it should. Why, in the middle of busy days, it's your voice his soul repeats. But the angels do. They see what you carry. You're not just a woman. You're an answer to a prayer he never voiced. Your love is an elixir. It seeps into the cracks of his hardened places. It softens what has been rigid. It breathes life into what was numb. This isn't about grand gestures. It's about how your laughter unlocks parts of him that haven't laughed in years. The way your boundaries teach him what safety feels like. The way you forgive, not blindly, but bravely. And the healing is happening. He may not say it. He may not even realize it. But his soul is shifting. The angels reveal, she does not heal him with force. She heals him by simply being, when all others tried doing. You are showing him a version of love that feels like rest, not pressure. Like truth, not performance. And that is what makes it sacred. Even when he distances himself, even when he doubts, your love lingers. Not as a burden, but as a medicine his heart is learning to receive. And one day, when his wounds are quiet, when his fears soften, he will look at you not with hunger, but with reverence. Because he will understand. You didn't love him because he was perfect. You loved him in the space between the pain. And that is divine. There are no coincidences here. The angels are clear. This road you're on with him, no matter how tangled or delayed, is not random. It is orchestrated. It is holy. It is written in the language only souls remember. You may question the timing, the silence, the distance. But heaven does not operate on urgency, it moves through surrender. And so the angels say, she walks where God placed her. Every step known, every pause sacred. You haven't lost your way. You haven't made a mistake. This connection, this one, is the unraveling and the becoming. And just because it's messy doesn't mean it's wrong. He doesn't know it, but he's being led too. Even when he resists. Even when he chooses distractions over depth. There are moments when he feels it, a presence he can't explain, a knowing he can't escape. That's the guidance. That's the pull. That's the divine whispering, look again. She is your mirror. She is your undoing. She is your way home. The path was never meant to be straight. Love doesn't arrive polished. It comes raw, scared, trembling, radiant. And this moment, the one you're in right now, is part of a sequence already held by something greater. You are not walking alone. The detours? They teach surrender. The delays? They build depth. The longing? It purifies your desire until only the truest love remains. It's hard, yes, because you feel so much, and he offers so little. But the angels remind you, even silence serves a purpose when the soul is being refined. Your task is not to chase. It is to trust. Even when it feels like nothing is moving. Even when your heart aches without closure. Even when he disappears into his own shadow. You are being led. By dreams. By signs. By divine timing. And him? He is being prepared. Though he doesn't say it, he feels the current. The soft tug in your direction. The clarity he tries to ignore. The strange peace he only feels when thinking of you. The angels are working in his silence. They are clearing paths in his heart that once led nowhere. They are softening the ground so that when he finally moves, it will be towards something sacred. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6. Your steps are not random. Your love is not wasted. Everything is unfolding exactly as it should. He wants to love you. He truly does. But love for him is not joy first. It is fear, exposure, risk. He looks at you and sees the opening of a wound that never closed properly. A door that swings both ways, inviting and terrifying. The angels say, she touches what he buried. And now it breathes. You didn't come to tear him apart. You came to touch what no one else could reach. But when you love someone who's only ever known love as a transaction, your presence feels like danger. Because you're not asking for a mask, you're asking for his truth. And truth for him is vulnerable. And vulnerability is where the pain lives. He's spent years armoring his heart, dressing it in logic and performance, hiding his tenderness under competence and coldness. So when you arrive, bare, sincere, unwavering, it doesn't just move him. It undoes him. You may think he doesn't care, that his distance is indifference. But the angels reveal the deeper ache. He distances not because he feels nothing, but because he feels too much. And the feeling? It's not safe. It threatens everything he built to survive. He fears that if he loves you, he will lose control. That if he opens up, you'll leave like the others did, or worse, you'll see the parts of him he can't bear to see himself. But here's the holy tension. He also knows he can't unfeel you. Your presence lives in the tender space between his shoulder blades. Your laughter revisits him when the world goes quiet. Your name, he doesn't say it, but he mouths it when no one's looking. He wants to come closer. He wants to confess. He wants to rest in the warmth you offer. But that means laying down his sword. And that is terrifying to a man who still hears the voice of past betrayals. And yet, he's unraveling. Slowly, quietly, miraculously. Because you love him with no armor. And it's showing him what's possible. The angels are close in this chapter. They hover in the space between your waiting and his wondering. They hold the weight so you don't have to carry both hearts alone. They say, do not rush the cracking. What is breaking open will bloom. And so you hold space. Not endlessly. Not at the cost of yourself. But with compassion. Because you know that love doesn't demand exposure. It invites it. And when he's ready, truly ready, he will walk toward you not with promises, but with presence. Not with rehearsed words, but with honest eyes. Until then, you stay grounded. Because love isn't about who shows up first, but about who shows up authentically. You've held space for a heart that trembles at its own depth. You've listened to silence as if it were a language. You've loved, not to be chosen, but because loving was your truth. And now, the angels ask you to do something harder than waiting. They ask you to surrender. Not out of defeat, but out of reverence. The kind of love you carry cannot be caged. It must breathe. It must choose, not be captured. And so you release, not the connection, not the hope, but the grip. The neediness. The narrative that says it has to happen a certain way. The angels say, she lets go not because she stops believing, but because she starts trusting. You've done your part. You've planted seeds in a soul that didn't know it was soil. And now, the blooming isn't up to you. It never was. Maybe he will return. Maybe he will speak the words you always felt. Maybe he will finally show up, not as a half-formed promise, but as a man ready to love in the way he was loved, gently, fiercely, holy. Or maybe, he won't. But the love? It remains. Not as longing. Not as loss. But as a sacred chapter of your becoming. Because you, beloved, were never here just to be loved. You were here to remember that you are love. That your worth is not measured by someone else's readiness, but by your willingness to keep your heart open, even when it bleeds. Acceptance is not giving up. It's giving in. To the flow. To the timing. To the truth that what is yours cannot be delayed, denied, or destroyed. And the angels whisper, she walked away with open hands. And heaven filled them. Now you choose peace over proof. Grace over control. And in doing so, you rise. The love you offered did not come back empty. It moved. It healed. It echoed. And even if he never admits it, you changed him. That is enough. Let this be your prayer, not one of closure but of growth. If he's meant for me, may he find me whole. If not, may I still be grateful that I once loved him at all. The angels place their hands over your heart now. Gentle, steady, eternal. They say, you are the answered prayer. Not just for him, but for yourself. And so it is.